Hello and welcome to this series where I'm going to review the Talk to Me in Korean levels one by one. This is the level 1 review video. Before we begin, I want to let you guys know that my study notes are available for free download on my website, and the link to that is in the description box of this YouTube video. I do recommend really knowing Hangul before you begin studying Korean, and to not rely on romanization to learn because you will not get very far. Also, this video is just a recap of everything in level 1 based on the study guide that I have made that you're seeing right now. Again, it's available for free download on my website. I highly recommend going through all the levels and lessons on the Talk to Me in Korean website on your own and studying each concept that they provide, just to get more in depth, because this video is going to be a really quick review. The first thing that my study guide goes into is basic phrases. So you probably know this one, 안녕하세요, which means hello. Hello or hi. 감사합니다 means thank you. And as you learn Korean, you'll learn that there are many ways to say thank you. This is the most standard. There are 2 ways to say goodbye. 안녕히 계세요 is used when you are leaving and someone is staying. So it's basically like saying, bye, stay in peace, because they're staying, but you're the one leaving. And this one looks really similar, but do notice the difference is right there. This one says 안녕히 가세요, which is the opposite. So it means bye, but you're staying and they're going, or you both are going, and it basically means go in peace. 이 means this, and you can use this with anything. So, for example, if you're talking about a book, you would say 이 책, which means this book. 그 means that. So, again, if you're talking about that book, you could say 그 책. 잘 먹겠습니다 and 잘 먹었습니다 are terms that you use when you're basically eating with people. 잘 먹겠습니다 and 잘 먹었습니다 look really similar, but again, the difference is right there. This is said before eating, and it basically means I will eat well. So 잘 먹겠습니다 means I will eat well. And 잘 먹었습니다 is said after you finish eating, so it says I ate really well. 네 means yes, and 아니요 means no. 죄송합니다 means I'm sorry, or I apologize. It's a really formal way to say it. 저기요 means excuse me. So if someone drops something and you're calling out for them, you could be like 저기요, and that would basically stop them. 저 means that over there. The difference between 저 and the other word that you learned right here, 크, is that 크 could be something close to you and 저 is usually something far. So like if there's multiple books right next to you, you could say 그 책 and point to the one that's near you. But if there's a book all the way across the room from you, you could say 저 책. So it's really about difference in distance. There are 2 ways to say this, but 고 or 꽃 basically means thing or an item. Fact or stuff. These are the basic phrases at the top of my review. The next thing that my study guide goes into are endings to know. The first one is 이에요 or 예요, which basically mean it is. So back with the book example, you could say 책이에요. And 예요, this one is used when a word ends in a vowel. So the example I put here is 차예요 because the word 차 is actually 차동차, but it's shortened to 차. So I just put 차예요, and that's because this is a vowel. 아니에요 is the opposite of this, so it's basically to be not. You could say 책 아니에요, which means it's not a book. Or 차 아니에요, which means it's not a car. 있어요 means to be, to have, or to exist. And this is something that is used all the time, so it's important to understand. So when something is there, like if there is a book in the room, you could say 책 있어요. If there's a person in the room, you could say 그 사람 있어요, which means that person is here. 없어요 means non-existence, so it's pretty much the opposite. So you could say if that person isn't in the room, you could say 그 사람 여기 없어요. 그 사람, which means that person. 여기 means here. 없어요 means is not here. So that person is not here would be 그 사람 여기 없어요. 주세요 means please give me. It's a really polite way to say please give me. So you can use this with things or concepts like time. So if you want to be like, hey, can you please give me some of your time? You could be like 시간 주세요. 시간 주세요. Or if you want to be like, please give me money, 돈 주세요. Probably only say that to your parents though. Okay, 고 싶어요 is an ending, and when you attach it to something, it basically means I want to. So you would attach it to a verb. So if the verb is to see, or you want to go watch a movie, to watch or to see, you could say 영화, which means movie. 보다 is the verb for to see or to watch, but you would just add the verb stem. So it'd be 보고 싶어요. That means I want to watch a movie. Okay, next up, let's talk about particles. This is very important and I won't be going into detail, so please do look at the lessons if you do not understand anything. N and nin are topic marking particles, whereas I and ga are subject marking particles. The difference is whether a word ends in a vowel or a consonant. 에, 에서, 부터, and 까지 are all location and time particles. 에 is at, to, or in. So if someone asks, where did you go? You could say 학교, which means school. The particle 에 갔어요, I went. So I went to school. If someone asks, where did you come from? You can add 에서. So it means 학교, school. 에서, from. 왔어요, I came from school. 부터 is a particle that is related to time. So someone asks, since when did you come here? You could say 2시, which means 2 o'clock. 부터, since, like since 2 o'clock I came here. 왔어요, I came since 2. 까지 is used in both location and time. And it means to or until. So someone asks, when does your school end? You could say 3시, which means 3. 까지 학교에 있을 거예요, which means I will be at school until 3 o'clock. The next part of my review guide is actually vocabulary, and I have a whole page about this, so feel free to go through it and test yourself. These are all pretty important words, and everything that was referenced in level 1. There are 2 number systems in Korean, Sino-Korean and Native Korean, and I know this can get confusing, so please take a deeper look at the lessons if you need to. Really quickly, Sino-Korean numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 100 is 100, 1000 is 1000, and 0 is either 영 or 공. For native Korean numbers, 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯, 여섯, 일곱, 여덟, 아홉, 열. And then now by tens, they go 스물, 서른, 마흔, 쉰, 예순, 일흔, 예든, 아흔, and then 100 and 1,000. Since they are bigger numbers, we still use Sino-Korean numbers. So it would be 백 and 천. The reason that there are two number systems in Korea is because they're used for different things. So time uses native Korean numbers to say the hours and Sino-Korean numbers for the minutes. So an example would be 1:37 would be 한시, which means hours. 37분, 1:37. So it's native and Sino-Korean numbers. In age, in casual daily life, you use native Korean numbers for age, but in formal places like court or legal documents, you have to use Sino-Korean numbers. And for years, you can use either native or Sino-Korean numbers. This was something that did take me a while to master, so I highly recommend just practicing a lot with this and watching other YouTube videos. As for question words, 뭐 is what, 어디 is where, 언제 is when, 누구 is who, 어떻게 is how, 왜 is why, 얼마 or 얼마나 is how much. When you use 뭐 or 누구 to emphasize a subject, you should add a subject particle, so it would become 뭐가, and you use 가 because this ends in a vowel. Or it could be, it wouldn't become 누구가, no, it would become 누가. You could say 누가 그랬어, which means who said that. 얼마 usually refers to money. And with 얼마나, you usually add an adjective or an adverb. So how fast did you go? This is a really brief summary, so please do practice. When we look at how to conjugate verbs in Korean, it's much easier than any other language I've personally learned. So you learn that verbs, when you look them up, will come in a verb form. So when you search up to go, it'll come up as 가다. If you look up to see, it'll come as 보다. This is the verb form, and you actually only take the verb stem when you conjugate. So this da part is usually taken out when you're actually using it in sentences. So when you conjugate with present tense, you add a, yo if the last vowel in the verb stem is a or o. If the last vowel in the verb stem is anything other than a or o, then you add o, yo. And you add yo only to the verb 하다. So the verb stem for that is ha, and because it's a special case, it actually becomes 해요. For past tense, you add 왔어요 if the last vowel in the verb stem is a or o. Same thing, if the last vowel in the verb stem is anything other than a or o, then you add 왔어요. And again, for 하다, there's a special term, so you use 하 becomes 했어요 for past tense. Future tense is covered in level 2. So to make negative sentences Korean, there are two ways. You can add an before a verb, or you can add the negative verb ending ji anta. Let's look at this with an example. So the word 가다 means to go. In plain present tense, like we look at conjugation, it would be 가요. In past tense, it would be 갔어요. This is present positive, so this would actually be I go. This would be I went. To make it negative, you would make it 안 가요, which means I'm not going. You could also say 같이 안 왔어요. Here, the conjugation for the past tense is after the verb stem because you added this negative verb ending. So it's 가지 않았어요 for I didn't go. I'm not going, or I didn't go. Those are two ways that you can make a sentence negative. The two exceptions are 있다 and 없다 because they are opposites and they have antonyms. And 알다 and 모르다. 알다 means to know and 모르다 means to not know. So you can't say 안 알아요 because there is a word for not knowing, which is 모르다. So if you want to say I don't know, you can say 몰라요. You can't say 안 알아요. That just sounds weird. Same thing with 있다. You can't say 안 있어요 because there is a word 없다. So you would have to say, instead of 안 있어요, you would just say 없다 or 없어요. That is the end of level 1 review. If you want to access my free downloadable study notes, please go to my website, which will be linked in the description box below. Also, if you want to go into depth, which I highly recommend you do, please go to talktomeinkorean.com, create an account, and start learning for free in my learning center, where there are 10 levels and 30 lessons each. That's where I learn Korean, and I highly recommend it. See you in level 2.